Hey everyone, this is Local A-List, Tulsa's premier podcast, where we're going to be interviewing top performers here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm Stephen Morales.
And I'm James Pesh.
And enjoy the show. Do we want to say anything else?
I think that's it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Local A-List. And today we have a very special guest. We have Aaron Baulch from Mindful Body Fitness with us today. Thanks for doing this for us, Aaron.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. Cool.
So, we wanted to kind of have you on the show and explain like the natural movement thing that's going on, but I asked the question as to how do you explain to people what you do?
Yeah, it's one of those tough answers because what Mindful Body Fitness has become and evolved to is, it's kind of on the forefront of what's happening in fitness right now. So I wrote this thing the other day. It's a short piece, and it's somebody give you a real generic answer from a written statement.
Okay,
cool.
Sounds good.
It's pretty short. So Mindful Body Fitness is a Tulsa fitness studio specializing in restorative exercise and natural movement. As a nutritious movement affiliate and Oklahoma's only licensed MovNat facility, we are able to help all age groups and ability levels incrementally gain an understanding of the importance of how our movement directly affects our health. We strive to help our clients restore the basic and essential movement principles that are needed to live life mindfully, free of physical pain, and empowered with overall wellness. And then our tagline is invest in yourself, learn to move again, train for life. So it's kind of all that in a nutshell.
Good deal. Before we kind of open that huge can of worms, too, because there's a lot going on in the natural movement side of things, I actually want to give listeners like a background as to why you're now doing this. Because, your history in fitness is, the complete opposite to any of this, right?
Yeah. My journey started... I played basketball into college, and then...
Where are you from, by the way?
I grew up in Oklahoma City, but I went to high school in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And then I graduated from Oklahoma University.
Awesome. What's your degree?
I was a liberal arts and sciences major.
Nice.
And I had the aspirations of a letters degree and was thinking law school, and then heard that the personal training industry was blowing up in Dallas about the middle of my college career, and shifted and went south as soon as I could. Yeah.
Good deal. So
your career didn't go south.
No. My career exploded. Yeah. And when I remember telling my parents like, hey, I'm going to go to Dallas and be a trainer, and
they're like,
that was pretty awesome. That was an awesome conversation.
They were super proud.
Yeah. And here we are now. I'm 46 now, so I've been in and around the training business, watching the shifts and changes for 25 years now.
I think you have the most experience as far as like personal training side of things, out of anybody that we've had on the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure we didn't even really. Did we ever ask Clint what his combined?
He's like 38.
Clint,
he's been in it like 18.
Clint that from here?
Clint Howard, yeah.
Yeah, I've known Clint since he was in college, so yeah.
So he's been around.
He's a great dude.
Yeah. He's we brought it up.
Next to you, he's probably been around the training industry
a long time. He's a marketing genius, though. we brought that up to him on the show. Like that dude just knows.
And I did want to let our listeners know, because they know that we have had movement discussions before, and we have had a couple of guests on movement, but this is completely different. This is not going to be the same type of podcast that we've had before.
Yeah.
So if you think that you've already heard this stuff before,
it's different.
It's completely different.
We're going to kind of a deeper level. So you start doing the personal training stuff?
Yeah. So I moved to Dallas, and I started when I moved to Dallas, I had already gotten my first training certification, and it was with National Academy of Sports Medicine, and that was in, I believe, 1990 or 91. And it was when everything was a little bit different. And I actually had to go to Chicago, and I spent 7 days in Chicago at Dr. Bob Goldman's facility, where he trained people, and it was a studio / his offices. And 7 days of intense training, learning how to teach exercises, ultimately culminating in this gigantic Sunday test that was crazy. And so I've watched it go from that to where now you can get a training certification
online without ever
without ever doing anything. So it's been really interesting to watch. But I started personal training there, and caught the bodybuilding bug, and I competed when I was supposed to be walking across the stage to get my degree from OU. I chose to instead compete in my first bodybuilding show. So I was on a stage of a different sort. And that was, another thing for my family was like really that. But it was cool because everybody was there. And that kind of set it off. And then by about 25, 26, I was really heavily into the bodybuilding community. So
what was your composition at that time? Like your body makeup?
At that point, I was probably around 250 or 260 pounds. Ultimately, ended up winning the super heavyweight class of the Southwest USA in 2000.
And what are you now? Because you're not nearly that.
I weigh 200 now.
Yeah.
When I competed, I was between 230 and 240, and I weighed anywhere between 270. And the last time that I ever stepped on a scale for to look at bodybuilding, just to look at, hey man, am I getting bigger?
Right.
I weighed 309 pounds.
Wow, that's an outrageous, dude.
It was crazy, and that wasn't in the prettiest of condition, but I mean, at 270 pounds, there was a point in time.
You must have felt so heavy.
Oh yeah. I remember walking down I can remember walking through the malls, and when malls were malls, back then, right? And so we're walking through the mall, and I remember, and these are things that I bring up all the time to people now that are looking to go down that path, and I would never change my bodybuilding history for anything. Like it really marked for what I do now. But I can remember having to sit down because I was sweating or my blood pressure would go up, and I would have to, just rest for a minute. And you see that in the super heavyweights all over the place.
Yeah, it's like that. You look like insanely fit from somebody that has no idea what's going on. But at the same time, you're having to rest like a heavy set person would have to rest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to breathe.
Burning massive amounts of calories just by moving your body.
Yeah, just by moving through the mall.
Right.
And it was, and if people would ask me then, I mean, I played basketball all the way in, and I at some point I stopped. I don't really remember, but people would ask me like, hey, do you want to go play volleyball, or do you want to go for a hike, or do you want to go do this? And my excuse was always like, oh no, man, like tomorrow's leg day or whatever it may be, right?
Can't, dude.
I got 48 hours till legs, and so that's,
we had Scott on the show, and it was hard to get him scheduled for the show because he's like, nah, dude. I was like, can you do it at 11? Nah, man, I gotta do my shower, and then I gotta start prepping my meal. I was like, can you do it at? No, we work out at 2. Can you do it at like 4? I'll be tired, man. I gotta take my nap. Can you do it at 6? I was like, oh my god, can we do it at 7, dude?
Totally true. I lived it. I mean, at the highest of levels, and my thing was, and I had all the potential in the world. I just at some point I just simply, number one, I like to go out too much in the Dallas scene and in Las Vegas.
Didn't you own a bar, or you were a bartender?
After I retired from bodybuilding, I kind of got away from fitness for just a few years. And I still did some consulting and stuff like that, but bartended and got as far away from fitness as I possibly could.
Right.
Didn't want to see a chicken breast or anything like that. And but that's what ultimately kind of brought me back around to what mindful body fitness is today.
If you're cool with it, I know you have a ton of crazy weird bodybuilding stories that I want to get in. And there's one that I heard where I can't remember what it was, because you're taking, I mean, let's be honest, anybody that's that big is taking copious amounts of steroids.
Anabolics.
But you took some stuff, and I think you got to the gym and you knew something was wrong.
Oh yeah.
What was it?
There's a bunch of those, but so I had a bunch of really good coaches, which was a blessing. One in particular, and he'll go nameless, but he actually had been, he was a trainer at the studio at the gym that I was at forever. He had won a bunch of shows in Europe, like a bunch. Like he hadn't lost except for in Mr. Universe.
Yeah.
And so he was helping me with some of my my off-season prep stuff. And so he had asked me to take this certain oral, right?
And for those of you listening, that's an oral steroid.
So a certain oral, and you're right, funny. And it was a 50 milligram tablet, and I remember I don't remember him telling me to only take half, but I took the whole thing and I did exactly what I was supposed to. And this was about 5:30 in the morning. All my clients always started early, and by the time I made it from my house to the gym, I started feeling like ants were kind of crawling on my skin. And I walked inside and I sat down. I remember like literally my skin was starting to crawl, and I'm like, this is not right. This is not right. And so I dialed. This is a time of pagers, so some of you right. So I paged him, and I'm like, all right, dude, you got to call back, man. You got to call back. And he calls back, and he's like, what's going on? And thick, like British accent.
Right.
And I told him what I'd done, and he was like, you took the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this is the first time that you are ever using this product, right? And I said, yeah. And he's like, and you took the whole thing. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, dude. You need to
flush,
cancel all of your clients, call all of your people, and go home. And you need to go home and you need to pull all the curtains, and you need to take off all your clothes, and you need to get in bed and pull the covers over your head, and you need to hide for the day, because it's going to make your system just go into this kind of crazy shock. It hit you that way.
Wow.
And I said, what should I have done? And he said, you should have taken half, like I told you, or a quarter, like I told you. But I very rarely. And so there's the moral to that, I think I told you, is like I didn't make a bunch of mistakes on that stuff.
Yeah.
But there were some crazy stories from all around the bodybuilding world that after that I didn't make too many mistakes. Another one is I took this is my very last show, and this is hilarious. I took a Lasix getting ready to leave Dallas, and my coach at the time was like, yeah, just take this and it'll like you'll lose your water on the way to Houston. And you'll get there and you'll be shredded by tomorrow morning. And what's the Houston drive? 4 hours, like from Dallas, like roughly.
4 to 5. Yeah.
From Dallas.
About 7.5 hours later, like because I took too much of it, and so I was like I was like jumping off. I was pulling over on the side of the road, running to the woods, trying to make it to. Dude. I mean, it was like every 20 minutes, and so it just sometimes it hits you wrong, or sometimes it just take a little much, and so yeah.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's crazy ones. So, yeah.
Well, and I've only seen the one picture. I mean, you were gigantic. You on stage. Yeah,
we could post a couple. I mean,
if you can send me some. Yeah, we'll have some in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then you tried getting.
How tall are you, Aaron?
6 feet.
Okay,
so as tall as us.
You're only 6 foot?
Yeah.
Why do you seem like 6'3"?
It's because my posture is.
Yeah, your posture.
My posture is amazing.
He does, man. Every time I've seen you, I've been like, this dude's 6'3" at least.
Yeah.
But you tried to get into acting.
I did. Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I did. I did.
I think you said you were on Walker, Texas Ranger.
I was on Walker a few times, like as an extra.
That's awesome, man.
I had a really great.
Is it true that whenever you're standing in the vicinity of Chuck Norris, that you could physically feel weaker?
Absolutely. Actually, it's completely the opposite. But, but what was crazy is the first time I saw him, and he walked onto set, and he actually trained at the gym that I was a personal trainer at for years. One of the nicest dudes ever.
Yeah.
Like he would come in, he had his like kind of entourage that trained with him. But the first time you see him on set, he talks like I can do it. You won't be able to.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
He talks about like this on set. I mean, it's like that. And they have a bunch of microphones that come over the top of him to pick him up.
Really? He's just a soft-spoken person.
Soft-spoken guy. Yeah. And I had conversations with him at the gym, but it was very brief. I mean, I would never say that I know Chuck Norris, but I've been around him. Lots of people came in and through the gym that I was associated with in Dallas for years. Yeah. And so there was.
Did you know his son though, or what was the other connection you had?
So there was a guy that was on the show as well. He played Gage on the show. I'm really dating myself. His name was Jetson, and he was cool. Yeah, we hung out a lot.
Right on.
Yeah, so there was but my agency in Dallas that I was at, and I can give a shout out to them, but it's the Campbell Model and Talent Agency in Dallas, and that's been many years ago, like 20 years ago, but they're still there and they're still rocking. And my agent's name was Mike Beatty. He was super cool, and he repped a lot of people, and I just wasn't fully engaged into that.
Right.
And I didn't want to.
Dallas isn't really known for the show business either.
Yeah, it wasn't then, especially.
Right.
I mean, it's probably more, but I just I didn't want to trim down. I wanted to be big, and so I limited.
It's harder to to get roles when you're jacked. Yeah.
I mean, and I remember one agency kind of laughed at me. They were like, we're a modeling runway agency. Like, I'm like, okay, man, that's cool. Like, yeah. But I did a lot of print stuff for a while, and
commercials or anything like that.
Did a Church's Fried Chicken commercial many years ago.
Wait, being that big, they're like, this dude eats chicken.
Yeah. Actually, it was a basketball weird commercial, but I was in Universal Soldier 2.
Really?
Years ago, yeah. I thought that was going to be my big break.
Yeah.
And I actually
was Jean-Claude Van Damme in that one?
Oh yeah. Goldberg. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I didn't see that one.
It's not much. But ultimately, like I had an actual part in that.
Okay.
And then ultimately they called me and like, we're gonna push it back a little bit, and Jean-Claude was having a little trouble at that time, and Goldberg was traveling the world wrestling. So they got behind budget, overscheduled, and all that, and they called us in on the day that I got there and said, we have bad news for you. We've given your parts. It was me and another guy, and then these two really good-looking blondes, and they said, we've given your parts to our stuntmen. And they're like, but we can keep you on as featured extras. And so I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And I stayed for about a week, and the extent and ultimate part of my like modeling TV career was they said you're going to be I just heard I was going to be on the back cover of the DVD. Okay. So I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. And when it came out at Blockbuster, which, some of people won't even know what Blockbuster is, right? Yeah. But I was like, yeah, and we went up there and I flipped it over. And they had put the, I was on the back cover, but they had put the barcode over my face.
Oh, no.
So it was me, my body, right?
They Mike Wazowski'd you, like a Monsters Inc., where they cover him with the logo.
Awesome. And here's Goldberg and me. I'm like right next to him in the cold chamber. I'm like, oh, man, yeah. And after that, I was like, I think I'm done.
I think I'm done.
When they barcode your face, it's like, well, maybe I'm not cut out for show business.
You just have to, you just got to laugh about it. And that's how that business is.
Right. So what was the transition for you then as far as getting out of that and bodybuilding and everything and then kind of coming around to now?
So after my last show, I sat in an exit interview with my coach at the time, and I'd gotten fourth in a show, the John Sherman in Houston, and I'd gone in pretty good shape. And that was around 2002, I think. And my coach was just like, man, you just got to get bigger. And I was sitting in front of him at what was really big for me at the time, probably 280 pounds or so, 290 pounds.
It's just massive.
Yeah, and it was
you're like looking at him like, I can't get any bigger.
But it was. I mean, and that became like, we need to grow you here. And I mean, I needed some delts. I needed my back to grow. What I didn't realize then, though, was during my training, I was having and I know it now, I was having a really hard time activating my backside. Okay. So the posterior chain was non-existent because I was a front body dominant bodybuilder, as most people are. People are learning that now. But so he just wanted me to get bigger, which meant more anabolics, more food, more ridiculousness, and of course I agreed when I was talking to him. And then I drove from Texas. I was living in Norman at the time, and I went to Norman. And on the way there, I'm like, man, I just can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it. And so I remember thinking, all right, well, if I'm not going to do that, then I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So I went to bartending school and started doing that for a while, but ultimately I kind of stopped training. I just didn't train much. And
how long did you keep your size and your look?
Oh man, like that was crazy. So here's the funny thing: is my calorie intake and the bodybuilders that are the heavyweights out there and people that have to eat a lot of food will understand this. Calorie intake is what. I mean, I was taking 6,000 to 8,000 probably calories a day. I mean, easily in the off season, and when I stopped, I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna have donuts for breakfast. I'm gonna have hot dogs for lunch from the 7-Eleven, and I'm gonna have pizza at night. Whatever. That's still only
sounds like what I ate yesterday.
Yeah, that's still only equated to like 3,000 or 4,000 calories.
Right.
So I was in a deficit.
Yeah.
So for about the first year.
Started shrinking.
Oh, I just started getting shredded because I had so much muscle, and people were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was behind the bar doing stuff, and it was like I was 260 to 70 pounds, like just really lean, doing nothing.
Right.
But after about a year of the lifestyle, 2 and then 3 and then 4, things went south literally quickly. I started to, there's a whole other story, but I started to get into where anything that you could have that has to do with your health was going south for me.
Yeah.
So I was pre-diabetic. I had my legs would swell up to about my knees. I took all the laces out of my Chuck Taylors.
And you're not working out at this point still.
No. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because even at my, like, when I wasn't doing anything, I was in Dallas, and people would find me and be like, "Hey, man, there's this amazing young bodybuilder you need to come meet. He needs your assistance," right? So I'd go talk to him and help them. So some consulting still. But I like the nightlife a whole bunch, and so that's what I was doing during the time. But what I didn't know was, and I knew that I wasn't healthy, but it was really, really bad. And I can't really even... it's so bad that I mean, I was probably, when I came here and my first doctor here was like, "I can't even believe you're alive." Like, it's that.
Wow.
But what I didn't realize, I knew I wasn't healthy physically, but I didn't know that the muscles were basically caving in on top of themselves. So they started to like overly contract on the front side and get really tight on the back side. And they started tugging and pulling on your skeleton, and that's what people don't understand, is the tug and pull of the muscle from front to back, top to bottom, literally pulls our skeleton around. And so it was shifting my back, my pelvis, my legs and knees. I couldn't sit in a movie theater unless I sat on the end and had to get up and move around within 10 or 15 minutes. The pain was serious. I developed lower cross syndrome, which is... tight on the front and pulling up on the back, and it shifts the pelvis. All of this crazy stuff that I know now. All I knew then was, man, this freaking hurts. And so the transition came from moving to Tulsa when my son was about to be born, and he's 9 now. I went to work at a health food store, a local health food store here in Tulsa, Aikens. Yeah. And ultimately managed there for about 5 years, and it was maybe 2 years in. And I had tried to go back to the gym to train, but I often went into the gym and got hurt. I had nerve stuff that happened, like I would always pull a muscle, but I didn't realize then that everything was so out of whack that it just wasn't responding. And so ultimately, a lady that I worked with gave me a pass to the yoga room here in Tulsa. And man, it was a life changer. And I thought, as an athlete, some of us think that we can just simply go in. I was like, man, I can go in and whip this stuff out and be back in shape in 6 months. Right? Yeah. And I went in the first day and was so humbled. I still remember, I've written a blog, actually, a piece for MovNat on this a couple years ago. And I still remember the sights and the sounds and the visuals, like the smells of how yoga room was that day. Yeah. And it just burned into me. And I realized that day how poor my health had become. And I didn't know what the movement journey was going to be. But that day was January 4th, 8 a.m., 2009. And I remember it like it was freaking yesterday. Wow. Yeah, man, yeah. Tom Tobias, absolute shout out to Tom. He's one of the greatest yoga people in Tulsa, if not anywhere, was my teacher that day. And
is Tom the guy that has he buzzes his head?
Yeah.
Real soft spoken.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I've taken some class. I took a couple with him, and was really easy because it's intro class.
Very intro. Yeah.
But at the end, he had us in zombie pose or corpse pose. And dude, his voice is so soft. He just knocked me out. Like, it just passed out for 5 minutes. Yeah. And you could feel yourself almost about to snore.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like putting me to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom's awesome, man.
Yeah. So one of the things that he said early on to me was. It'll happen when it happens, as far as, because I was like, okay, I'm going to put this into my squats, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do down dog in between my deadlifts. And he was like, okay, man, like that's what you feel like you have to do. But he said one thing that you need to do is you need to get out of your own way. And we all often need to do that. And it's one of those sayings, get out of your own way. And because we get in our way doing so many things. And so that day kind of started it off. So yoga was the first thing. Yeah.
So what's the transition from yoga, and we can go deeper now with the natural movement stuff. I mean, what's the transition from?
If I can add in, I think that a lot of my clients avoid things like yoga a lot. They don't want to do it.
Right.
Or they talk trash. They're like, no, dude, that's frou-frou. It's easy to do. I was like, you don't understand, dude. Like, I go in and I'm the dude that's like yelling the most and like talking to myself the most, like this freaking nerd.
No, I'm telling you right now, I did athletics in high school, a little bit in college, and I've done a lot of different training, including things that I'm not 100% proud of, like CrossFit and things like that. And I've done all sorts of stuff, and by far the most dreaded workouts that I've done were vinyasa yoga.
Oh yeah,
and I hated every minute of it, but in a good way. Like I was like, I know I need this, but I suck so bad at it, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's a major issue with what I see just in general. I mean, not with everything, but just kind of in the fitness world. It's like we need to do things that we all need more of the things that we don't do very well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and on your point right there, like the third yoga class I ever took. So I'm like, okay, that class is okay. I can handle that. Tom was amazing. And then, so I went back to his class the next week, and he's like, yeah. And so then I was like, okay, I'm ready. Yeah. And I looked on the yoga room schedule, and it said power yoga.
No, I did that once, dude. I got a headache. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
You hear that so and you bad. Go, that's an oxymoron.
We got what
power in yoga.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If it wasn't for the instructor that day. Give her a hug every single time I see her, but she willed me through that class. Like absolutely, I wanted to quit so bad, but that was the start, and how it kind of transitioned to now. I think that was your last question.
Because you did well, and I want to interject real quick because you had RKC stuff.
Oh yeah.
So you have a whole bunch of other stuff that you've done too.
Yeah. My journey now literally started that day, but. So at the time when I came to Tulsa, I came here, my son was about to be born, like I said earlier, and I had this idea of going back to school, and I wanted to pursue an advanced degree in psychology and do some sports psychology because I'd spent some time training several of the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas and had been around them and just thought there was a really cool niche there. And so I took some classes. I actually took 18 hours, I think it was, of psychology at NSU here in town, and applied early for the master's program. Didn't get in, didn't really expect to, didn't get in. And that day I went in and told Tom that day, like, oh man, I didn't get in. He said, well, why don't you go to Mount Madonna? And Mount Madonna Institute is in California. It's a yoga institute that is one of the only last standing yoga institutes that was started as a community back in the 70s. And it's based on the teachings of Baba Hari Das.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Babaji, and
so it's got a little bit of a religious overtone to it as well.
A little bit of spirituality to it. Yeah. I mean, it's they have a grade school. They have kindergarten, grade school, high school.
Wow.
They have two major temples there. But anybody can go.
Right.
They don't. It's no pressure at all.
Sure.
It's an amazing. They give all the stuff they give back to an orphanage in India and it's an amazing place. So a lot of people kind of followed Tom and Nicole, who are from Yoga Room, and started traveling out to California. So instead of pursuing my master's, I went to, because I didn't get in, which was kind of like okay. I went to California and spent 30 days there, and along the way, so right before that, I got this deal in the mail because I had just done the NSCA CPT, right?
Yeah.
Took about a year to get ready. That's a nasty, tough cert. And I wanted to have
what is it? NSCA?
The National Strength Conditioning Association.
Okay.
Yeah, and the CPT. I wanted to have, and I think this is really important for trainers out there to understand, is super important to have a nationally accredited training certification that everybody recognizes, whether it's NSCA or NASM or ISSA or even ACE. I mean, there's a lot, but there's a few that are the top-notch ones. And so I did that, and then because I had passed that, I started getting mailers. And so one day I get this mailer in the mail, and it's got Pavel on the front of it with the kettlebell over his head. And I'm like, who's this dude? Like, this is, and it's like, we guarantee that we can whip you into shape with the kettlebell, and you're a pansy if you don't do it, and all of his stuff. Come on, comrades, and so I showed it to my dad, and we're like, man, that's cool. And we read through it, and I researched it a little bit, and ended up like ordering a 16K kettlebell. Okay. And we got 2 of them, right? And it came in the mail. And my dad still has written on his calendar the first kettlebell workout we did, and it was so stupid. I mean, I tried to follow the book, and I remember my neck being so sore, and I know now that I just used my neck for every swing that I did. It was like, do this, and I was so tight, it was horrible. But I took my kettlebell with me to Mount Madonna, so I'm practicing yoga, learning yoga from Mount Madonna Center, and on my breaks, I would pull out my kettlebell and go out and practice swings. And then do get-ups in the Great Hall, and I don't think anybody's probably ever done that. I mean, I'm probably the only one. But people would come around and they'd be like, dude, what is that? And that's really pretty, and that's really cool. And I was horrendous at it then. But then, so it was 2 things, and then when I got back from Mount Madonna.
Still got an ugly get-up.
Oh, yeah, man. So and it has to do with mobility, and mine was horrible then too. But came back and went to an NSCA state clinic. Actually, Clint was at that one. He would never remember probably. But and a guy named Dustin Ripito, who's in Guthrie, Oklahoma. He's absolutely one of the best kettlebell instructors anywhere.
Wow,
and
cool.
He's fantastic. And he gave a speech at the NSCA state clinic, and it was like 2 hours. And Dr. Michelle Neal was there, and we were just fascinated. I mean, he could see it in my eyes. He was like, man.
That's a doctor here in town?
Yeah. She's owner and founder of the Functional Medical Institute.
She used to be a bodybuilder.
Yes, big time, like world class. Yeah,
she does the genetic testing stuff now.
Yeah. And so we were just fascinated. I was blown away, and Dustin invited me to an HKC, which is the entry level kettlebell thing, and then. Went through that, passed that, and then jumped in. Was like, yeah, man, I'm going to do the RKC. And so Pat Sitton, you guys have probably talked about that.
That's when Pavel was still over RKC,
right? Yes, yeah.
Well, no, we talked about it because remember Justin came with me down. And he trains with Pat. I've just never made it out there because it goes Sunday when I'm training.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Pat was he came to my house every couple of weeks, worked with us, and got through the RKC. And so the RKC at that time, that's been 5 or 6 years ago for me. Was pretty much getting to its pinnacle before maybe 3 years later when it split and Strong First and all that now. And but the main guys and girls for that group were tied into the forefront of what was happening movement-wise. And so you would talk to them about it, and they would say, yeah, well, this is kind of the next big thing. And you could see it happening because it was all of these minds getting together from all over the world, teaching these amazing workshops, bringing amazing other clinicians and people that were trying to learn. So to me, I mean, I think it was, I know there's probably been some other stuff, but I mean, it seems like to me that it was kind of the forefront of, from what I've seen in the last 10 years, of where guys and girls from all aspects of the fitness and movement industry and wanted to learn started to get together and brainstorm, and it just exploded. And so all of a sudden you have like, hey man, you should go here and here and here, and then the FMS joined with them, and it became the Certified Kettlebell Functional Movement System or Screen, and I did that course. And did the initial body weight course that started all of the body weight stuff. It was and I was horrendous. They left me like 2 days in, and I was just like standing there looking at the bar as Max Shank was like doing levers and all this craziness. And Pavel was teaching, and Mark Rifkind, and there was like 40 RKCs from around the world, and I was just lucky to have paid my money to be there. I mean, it was just, they limited it. And so right after that at the CKFMS, on the 5th day or 6th day of the FMS, there was supposed to be a 1-hour speech on MovNat.
This is when he teamed up with Erwan.
Yes, and so all of a sudden I get out of the car. Actually, Dr. Neal was there, and I get out of the car, and we looked over, and there was Gray, and he was like, "Hey," and they said, "Hey," and then I remember that she asked me like, "Hey, do you know who that is?" And I was like, "That's Erwan. That's Erwan," and you know, nobody really knew at that point what Erwan was doing. There was a few people. And so he comes in, and everybody's sitting down, and they have this, initial whatever we did that morning. And then they were like, we have a special guest today. We were going to have this one guy and who used to coach for MovNat. But instead, we brought Erwan, the founder, in. And so everybody was like, wow, that's cool. And he starts talking about MovNat as what we know, a physical education system based on the natural human movements of walking, running, and so forth. We can discuss in a minute. And then at one point he's like, you know what? It's nice outside. Fuck it. Let's just go train. You guys want to go train?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, yeah. And so we go outside and we run out there, and I swear it was like 90 degrees in Minnesota, and everybody was so gung-ho, and he starts to do all the traditional MovNat stuff, teaching the system, and everybody was just kind of rolling around. Only the best mobility people of that day were really able to do it. But it was like it seemed like it was a day long, but it was like 4 or 5 hours. And he taught the whole system, all the stuff. We did multiple combos, we did all this stuff. And I've had a chance to tell him this since then, but he at one point, you can find this on video, I think it's actually on his Gray Cook Exploring Functional Movement video, DVDs. And he's talking about being strong, and he used to say, be strong to be useful. They say, be strong to be helpful now. And so the other tagline just kind of shifted, and I think they're both awesome. But he was talking about that it's a moral imperative that we maintain our birthright to be able to move as we age. And he was talking, everybody's standing around this giant swing set at the rec center everybody trained at when we would go to kettlebell events.
Is this the one where he jumped off the top?
Yeah, man.
Oh my God, that
Have you
video
seen it?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Yeah. So I was I don't know. I mean, he rolled right at me, so I was like within.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the clip.
Yeah. And so again, they cut me off in the clip. Right?
Put a barcode over
Right, barcoded me in the clip. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be. Oh man.
Yeah.
So
there's the leaf. The MovNat logo's right over Aaron's face.
Yeah, but we were right there, and when he said, sometimes you have to be able to jump up to hold on to something, pull yourself up. And then he gets up on top of the swing set, and you can see it. Everybody can see it on Exploring Functional Movement. And he said, and then you might have to jump off. And he just jumps off, and he lands, and he rolls, and he never lost his breath. And he never lost his stride in what he was talking about. And it just showed like, man, there's not one person here. Maybe there could have been a couple people that would have attempted it, but it sure as heck wouldn't have looked like that.
It's fluid.
Oh man, yeah,
So fluid.
Yeah, and so that right there, and I told him that day. He doesn't remember. He doesn't. I mean, he's seen people all over the world.
Yeah.
But I had a chance to tell him, like, I heard you're having a certification. I'll be there. I'm going to be at that first one. And he was like, cool, man, good. That's awesome. And when that one came around a few months later, I was looking at it, and it was a 4-day event. And but I knew I wasn't ready. I was trying to train, and I didn't know what to expect. And so I remember sitting down with my mom actually, and I showed her 2 videos, one of MovNat and one of Primal Move, which is now Ground Force Method, and with Peter Lakatos, and that's a crazy, awesome system as well. And I said, which one do you think would be? What do you think? She knows what I've been doing, but she didn't really know. And she said, don't take this the wrong way, but one looks like it's serving you, and the other one looks like it could serve your clients. And the one that looked like at that point it could serve my clients was Primal Move. And because it was a lot simpler at the time, and it was FMS based, like based on the screen itself.
Sure.
And at the time it was quite a bit less expensive. So I chose to do Primal Move, and I learned a ton there and utilized it. That actually allowed me to understand movement.
Sounds like your mom's pretty intuitive.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. She's been a real massive force in my.
That's really cool because you wouldn't see, like, from an outsider's perspective looking in, most of the time if I ask for advice, they're not going to come up with an answer like that. That's an intuitive answer. Like,
it's like, and so she looked at it like as hey man, I couldn't use that, but she's like. But that video, I think it was the Workout the World Forgot video.
Yeah.
Beautiful video. It's
Beautiful
amazing.
video,
But that was one of the things originally that was and still I think is kind of hard for us in MovNat is that people thought that we had to go to these far off exotic places to do it. I know when we held our first certification here, and you've been part of a couple of them here, that somebody invariably says, like, this is really cool, man. It's like MovNat in Tulsa, and I didn't realize that it was ever going to be. I always thought I was going to have to travel to Brazil or something like that.
Yeah, because they're not anywhere in the middle of the country unless you're going to go to Texas.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right, and go to Cameron's place or down in Houston. But so anyway, that Primal Move set it up for understanding MovNat better. There was a ton of yoga practice in there too, and so I look back over the certification processes and all the stuff that I've done, and I mean, it's really I don't at this point I don't really remember how many. I can go back and look at them, but it's set up for really nicely for what MovNat is, and what MovNat is it allows everybody to do just about anything they want, right?
Yeah.
So how I look at it is the all of the different things that I've done allows, and if somebody is kind of along this path too, you have to have a groundwork. You have to have some groundwork stuff. You have to understand groundwork and ground mobility. You don't have to be awesome, but you have to have a base in it. And that for me was yoga and Primal Move. Ultimately, then you have to have some kind of strength system that you want to use.
And groundwork, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Mobility stuff,
right.
Like being able to be on the ground and a lot what they do in martial arts, the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Crouching, feeling comfortable on all fours.
Right, yeah. And
understanding how the body should feel in a plank, things like that type of stuff.
Even more so is how do you get up and down off the ground? And when you get down on the ground, can you drop your legs to the left and to the right into a bent sit? Can you crawl? Can you get onto your belly? Yeah, can you push yourself up into a plank? Are you comfortable down there and moving around? There's so many different layers of it. Can you lay back on your back and lift your legs up and roll your ankles? That kind of thing. There's just so many different pieces. But to understand, how to move up and down. And then have a strength system, whether it be kettlebells, which was my choice, whether it be that you're going to do barbell training, whether you're going to do traditional bodybuilding, it doesn't matter. Have some kind of strength system as well. And then whatever you choose, but the main thing is that MovNat leads to is make sure that you do something that equates to life. Make sure that it's practical application. So you can do ground flow and you can go lift weights, but if somebody, I'm looking out a window right now and they said, hey man, you have to go over, get over that fence. That's an 8-foot fence with no rails on this side. Can you do it? Can you climb the tree? All of that stuff. And so it really...
There's context to it.
Yeah. Right. And it really woke me up because...
It's basically like, listen, you have to be able to break and enter in any situation.
But you know what though? There's I think that, and I'm pretty sure that they do this. I mean, they could reach out to me and tell me I'm wrong if they don't, but I know that I've heard that there are now consulting groups via the parkour world that are asked by corporations to see if how quick they can get into their buildings, or can you get on top of a building? Can you do this? And so it's
I'm kidding, but
so you have these are high-end security places, and they say how long does it take you to get in here? There's all kind of stuff like that happens now. I mean, it's in the movies, it's all over the place. In our world, I remember you weren't there that day, but you had something going on. But Cameron was talking one day, and he said, I'm talking to Steve here. He said there was a bunch of different movement disciplines in the room, and he's like, man, you guys peek up over the bar in CrossFit. I get up on top of it. I get over it when it wasn't just CrossFit. He had something for everybody. During that day, almost every single movement discipline we were at the studio was represented. The only one that could keep up with Cameron Prado, that's one of the lead instructors for MovNat, in any mobility movement that he did from the ground up was one of the directors of the Modern Dance Academy here in Tulsa.
So wow.
Really?
We all just dropped out. I mean, and he was like, man, your movement is amazing. Yeah, Alicia, she's killer. And so we all dropped out because we didn't have that skill level.
Yeah.
And so MovNat woke me up to the fact that, I was strong. At one point I had all of these different things, but none of it was practical. Yeah,
and we talked about this at the little workshop that we did. I mean, a lot of people might see it and think it's a gimmick, but it's not there for that. It's only going to make your other movement practices better.
Right.
And if you can show people that, usually that's the entry point. Right, like if you're a bodybuilder, if you want to do powerlifting, whatever it is, it's just we're going to cover the basis of what you're trying to do.
Right.
Because we talked about it, we'll see people that are deadlifting hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and then they can't get to the floor without using their hands.
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy. So that leads to then ultimately, I mean, we at one point a couple of years ago ended up being a MovNat affiliate, and after going through the level 1, it was amazing, and got to be good friends with a couple of guys, and then did the level 2, and then did the combatives course.
Which is rough. I've done that.
Right? Yeah, super tough. I actually did that with my dad. So you're talking about support from my mom. My dad is 68 today, and he was about 65.
He did your first kettlebell workout with you. So.
Oh yeah, so he's awesome. Yeah, and so he went down. And
is he still very functional?
Yeah. Went through the combatives course with me at 65. And
dude,
yeah, it was awesome.
That's so brutal.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy, and so he loved it, and it was cool to do that with him. And after that, after becoming a MovNat affiliate, which has now led to being MovNat Tulsa, and so we're one of just a few MovNat licensed gyms in the country. But it was MovNat that an understanding of, and this has been how I teach and what I do, it sounds like I want to make sure that if people listen to this and they get all the way through to this point, that what I do is now restorative exercise therapy. MovNat showed me that, and MovNat is doing this now, and
that is exactly what it sounds like. I mean, restorative,
right?
And unfortunately, I think a lot of what you're trying to get back for people is things they don't even remember when or how long ago they lost it.
100%.
I mean,
spot on.
We're talking about kids that are stuck in a desk all day. They're losing it now at 8, 9 years old.
Yes.
And don't even remember what it's like now in their 30s and 40s.
In 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a guy he's 75. He's amazing, and he's been with me for about 8 months now. Never exercised in his whole life. Except for he says that he rode a bike when he was dating his wife, like they went on bike dates, right? But
what guys will do to land a chick.
He's never exercised his whole life. And so, but on Thursday night, this last class, he pushed himself up off the floor without any kind of assistance.
Wow!
Everybody
75.
75, and everybody clapped. He couldn't get to the floor. He was afraid to get to the floor. And this is 7-8 months ago. He was actually directly to your left, you and Samara's left, at the workshop, sitting in the chair, when you guys were with Debbie Bean's workshop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was sitting in the chair, and he was trying to get up and down off the ground. He was like digging in and trying. Yeah. Amazing, and now he's come so far, and so. MovNat is what led me to my recent kind of school. My mom says I'm just a perpetual learner, and it'll never stop because it comes in our family. But with the Nutritious Movement and Katie Bowman's school and the Restorative Exercise Specialist school.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle of her book, and I just got to bring up the quote that she said because it kind of sums up all of her teaching. She says, exercise is the supplement of your movement. If you had to kind of just combine it and just give a general what
you said it so much better on your Facebook
page. No, it looked awesome. That picture was cool too.
Well, that's her direct picture. That's her direct quote though, and I don't want to just do the direct quote, but I mean it is your exercise stuff is just the supplement, and you're not going to rely on your diet. Supplement's not going to be the bulk of it.
No,
and people forget those other parts to it.
Yeah, realizing that if you guys both train people, and realizing if your clients come to you 4 days a week and they do 1 hour a day with you 4 days a week, the percentage, and they don't do anything else.
That's my blog that I did. Yeah, I give the actual percentages.
Yeah, it's like 4%, something crazy like that.
Yeah,
they're only if that
1 hour of every day is 4% of your day.
Yeah, so it's the new term is actively sedentary. And it's a really great term. And so you have your active people, you have your sedentary people, and you have your actively sedentary people that are yoga moms or weekend warriors or CrossFitters or MovNatters. It doesn't matter. But what's happening is MovNatters, and that term drives me crazy. But it's MovNat training people tend to do what you're doing, Steve, and that's are talking about, and that's movement snack more.
Yeah.
Be able to get out there and move around more, not looking as exercise as, hey, man, I got to put on this awesome outfit, I got to go train. It's more that we just have to move around more. And so
looking for opportunities to move.
Yeah, to move more, just when you can. And so that's where it led me to Katie Bowman's Move Your DNA book, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of reading. I love that book. I mean, it's an eye-opening book. And I also love, I've brought it up before, but Kelly Starrett's quote, he says, your best position is your next one.
Yeah.
I mean, people get stuck and they just end up sitting on the couch. It's like, man, you should be shifting and
Shifting
move. Like, go to the floor. Just go to the floor.
Yeah, and in Katie's most recent book, well, it's Diastasis Recti is a recent one, but one before, she wrote a book called Don't Just Sit There. And in there, she has a little thing that she talks about at the end, and it's basically one of the things that she says is move. So you want to make sure that you move. She talks about mellowing out. Like, we're sitting in here, all we have is natural light in this room. It's awesome. There's no harsh lighting. Make sure that you sit well. Make sure you stand well. Make sure you stretch. Yeah. I mean, move all the time. And so that MovNat led me to that, and it's been a really great thing. And that's where mindful body fitness came out of. So that's a long,
well, you see, I mean, just from an outside perspective, you can see the layers you can peel away and get to now.
Yeah.
With that knowledge, because Katie did the workshop with Erwan, and she said, just talking about the context of it, and she's like, I'm trying to get people that are maybe 200 steps away from that to the point where they can actually then do MovNat.
Right, and that's what I saw when I went to MovNat, and I came back from MovNat. It was that I wasn't even close, man. At one point, and this is Cameron Prado of Urban Movement in Houston. We were doing one of the most basic movements in MovNat on the ground, the bent sit to lateral sit, right? Figure 4 box stretch, 90-90 for all those people that are out there. I don't know MovNat terminology, but and I dropped my legs to my left, and it was raining, and we were underneath this kind of like structure out at the park, right? And I dropped my legs to the left, and I just got stuck, and I was sitting there, and I remember him coming up, and he was like, all right, guys, check this out. Look how mindful Aaron's being. Like, he's going really slow, and I was like, I wish I could say that I was being mindful.
Yeah, absolutely,
but I'm stuck, dude. Yeah,
I'm so mindful that I physically can't mmove.
I couldn't move, and so he started laughing, and he was like, we need to get you up, and they moved me to like a hill, so I was kind of facing down, and it was so humbling, that whole 3 days. Yeah. And you've been through it, you've done it.
I trained with Cameron also, and then we did the workshop. I mean, you brought him up for the workshop.
Yeah.
That dude's, I mean, he's
a
silent ninja. I mean, that's all I can categorize him as. You can't hear him move.
I feel very, very fortunate to have trained with him, but also that he's just a really good friend too.
Yeah.
And so we're lucky to have him coming back and forth to Houston, or from Houston to here sometimes. Yeah, and so it became like, what can I do with my people? Because I realized that my clients needed that, and then so it was like, but all of them, most of them, weren't ready for it yet. And so I started to do a lot of regressions back from those things. Like, how does this work? How does this work? And when I started to kind of peel away the layers of each movement, like we did a little bit in our workshop the other day.
Yeah.
And so finding that most people were 100, 200, 300 steps below ground floor. And they just wanted to get back to that, and like we were saying a second ago, they didn't realize when they lost it, but they did.
Yeah.
And their doctors will say, go lift weights to get healthier.
Because I think when people hear restorative, at least I did initially, you think, oh, these are people that have had an injury.
Right,
like people that
right.
hurt an elbow or hurt a back, and then you're trying to fix them, help them get restored from a moment in time when they know that they lost it.
Right.
Like they got injured and they can pinpoint it and go. But that's not really the case. The case is that most people aren't moving the way that they should, but you're trying to restore them to the way that they moved when they were a kid before they knew that they lost it.
Or at least move back to that point.
Right. Well, and I think the easiest test too, we kind of covered this with any of the workshop stuff, is the first thing is usually, can you get to the floor without using your hands?
Sure.
And most people can't, and that's why you need it.
And we're gonna make sure that we have a video of some of the things that we're talking about, because I think that some people listening to this are like, get to the floor without your hand. That sounds like falling. I mean,
you mean just like fall to the ground? I don't know.
So we want to make sure that a lot of the movements that we're talking about, that we share a video, that we share, that we make people aware of what we're talking about. Because these are natural movements that are not complicated.
I mean,
once you can do them.
Yeah, but the thing is I have to keep going back to this, is that the general population that we see, and you just have to go to a mall or sit out front of Walmart, go watch people walk in and out of any grocery store, and you'll see, if you were to ask 100 people to walk in, can you get down on the floor without your hands? The percentage that can is going to be so low that it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And so what started to happen at the studio is the transition into specializing into When a person comes to see me now, they usually, and this has happened within the last year, they usually are on their last leg. Literally, like they've been told that they shouldn't exercise anymore. They've been told.
I hate when I hear that.
Yeah. They've been told that because of their injuries, because of whatever accident they've had, because of where they are in their life, that they shouldn't train anymore. You just have to live with that. And so the first thing that I typically do, there's a bunch of stuff through all the training. Don't have to go into that, but it's basically just look at them and see how they're walking, how their gait is, how they do things, and typically ask them if they can squeeze their glutes. Most of the times they can't. Can you squeeze your thighs? No. Can you squeeze the back of your arms? Do you even know what I'm doing to your back? All of this stuff. And 9 out of 10 times or more, they're like, I have no idea what you're asking me to do. Mm-hmm. They've become so disconnected with what their body.
Give them some laxative, I bet you they learn how to squeeze their glutes pretty fast.
That's the test. Right? Yeah. So they become so disconnected that they don't even know what you're asking them to do.
Right.
So if they were to go and walk into just a traditional training facility, right, and we're asked to just say bench press, for lack of a better term, they don't have any idea of how to even stabilize anything, much sitting down, much less that. And so the end goal is to take them, show them that there is restorative exercise movements through various things that I've studied. Right now, the nutritious movement is what I'm using majority, but there's pieces and bits and pieces from all of the other certifications of all the years of study that I pull in to accentuate that a little bit. And so in about 3 months, I'll go study with Katie and finish up the school. I've been in almost 2 years now, and go up to Sequim, Washington, and go to the Restorative Exercise Specialist week. So I'm not quite there yet, but
that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody knows I'm a student now, and in that. But I blend so many other things.
And we should be constantly anyway.
A student, yeah. I mean, Baba G always says, always remain a student. It's just always do that. So helping people from the ground up using micronutrient movements, micro movements into macro movements, which are the bigger movements, which constitutes MovNat.
Well, and it's harder. I think I'll get clients in, and you start to show them some of this stuff, and they're so focused on losing weight.
Sure.
Which is important. But when their movement patterns are garbage, it's like we're going to hurt you in the process of doing this, and they're so focused on it that that's all they can see.
100%.
Yeah, as if they get there and then all their problems will be kind of solved.
Yeah, I mean, so I tried to I had a major breakthrough with a lady in class the other night. She got down to the floor and up off the floor using a chair for the first time probably in her adult life, and it was really an awesome obstacle passed. And so we look at obstacles in our way. We try to pass through those obstacles any way we can, using any prop that we might need to, and we learn to use small little micronutrients. Whether it might be a finger, that might be a finger stretch, might be a neck stretch, might be a calf stretch. I mean, it's the foundation of nutritious movement is the calf stretch, and the T-shirt that they have that says "Drop your ribs." And so micronutrients to macronutrients. Once we get the macronutrients, which is the MovNat system in my book, and then we can then move into stuff like kettlebells, traditional free weights. We can go a little bit larger with our weight training stuff, and it's an amazing way to approach each person. Where the mindful piece came in, and that's where mindful body fitness came in, because I ask in any way that I can for my people to maintain mindfulness, not only when they're training but throughout their day. And so that's a big discussion. It's probably a whole other discussion, but that's long story of how to get to what mindful body fitness is today. Is that the progressions of, like you said, Steve, starting basic as you can, getting to where you own movements and own them when you can breathe in them. Right. And then you progress. And as you progress, it could be absolutely incremental, and it should be. But if you do a 1% incremental increase weekly, man, you look at how that extrapolates out over a couple of years, and it's pretty tremendous.
Well, and that's the harder part, because you're like, people come in, can I lose this amount of weight in 8 weeks? No. Like, I just stopped telling people, it's like, no. I mean, you could kill yourself trying to do it. I was like, but if you want to do it healthy, I mean, that's not how it works. You need a couple of years. I mean, this is lifelong practice.
Right.
That's the other thing I usually tell people too, is we're looking at like longevity. You may be benching 600 pounds now, but you're not going to be doing it forever.
Is
right?
it really, truly sustainable?
Yeah.
I mean, my size wasn't sustainable. I guess it could have been, but I would be, what I do now, and we talked earlier about strength and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I could pull a lot of weight off the floor. I damaged myself tremendously when I was bodybuilding. It was just over the duration of time through different things, the whole culmination of it all. But my mobility, stability, and strength today is exponentially larger than it was when I was at my bodybuilding peak.
Yeah.
Can I bench press the same? No. I mean, can I squat the same? No, I don't care to. But it sure is a heck of a lot better when I do it now.
Yeah, you won't ever find that in nature, though, right?
Yeah, no,
I need to squat 800
but
pounds.
also, if somebody would have said, "Hey, man, do a handstand," when I was bodybuilding, I would have just laughed because leg day would have been the next day, right? It would have been like, I'm not even going to try that. You know? An hour to crawl for 5 minutes or whatever. So
yeah. I went and tried to do the climbing wall a few years ago at Lifetime.
Yeah.
I was up there. Seriously, I like did the whole gear. The kid was like telling me, "Okay, you want to make sure you do that." And I got it. I got it.
Shut your mouth.
Step away. I'm an adult. I'm a grown up. I'm gonna climb this wall. And no kidding. I got like 12 feet off the ground, and I was pouring sweat.
Biceps
I was just
are
like,
burning.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come off this wall, and I have to apologize to this little kid and hand him the harness back and go, I can't do this. But I did it. I walked away and I was like, hey man, what do y'all do to get better at this? Like what kind of, and he walks over and he starts showing me finger pull-ups. He's doing little bitty two finger, one finger
like,
pull-ups.
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't like you. Yeah. I don't like you at all.
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself ever doing two finger pull-ups.
It's so crazy, but it's all about, and Greg Cook talks about that it's the most fit athletes in the world are the rock climbers. Yeah, I mean, and now
you see American Ninja Warrior, everybody's like going on and on about this show, and everybody you see, they're not jacked, man.
No.
When you see somebody win that thing, they're
ripped. They're just not like.
But they can handle their body.
Yeah.
I tell people often, I've been around some of them, been fortunate to have been around some really amazing parkour athletes.
We've done parkour certs, by the way.
Yes, right, yeah. And so that's another one. We didn't even talk about that one.
Yeah, those guys are insane.
And they are absolutely, you can take those guys and girls, and you can say, let's go lift weights, let's go do yoga, let's go do whatever.
They'll do any of it.
It doesn't matter. And they're like, you got it, man. The next step in that community and in I think it's in all communities is just to look at what you said, Steve, like the longevity of it. Like, yes, some of the younger athletes can make these big jumps and these amazing drops, and they're just crazy, ridiculously gifted. But is it sustainable?
No.
Right. And it's usually not sustainable unless they begin to look at the restorative stuff as a corrective on the fly, and they start to strengthen up and stabilize and maintain mobility and all of that stuff. So
and I want to kind of interject here and take this moment for this opportunity to establish something. I know that there's going to be some of my clients listening to this, probably some of your clients that listen to this, and just some people that listen to this that go, yeah, that's great. I love everything you're saying from a conceptual perspective. Sure. I like it, but I want to look good naked. At the end of the day, that's all I want.
Yeah.
So I think that what you're saying, we need to hammer into people like we have got to start understanding fitness from a lifestyle perspective, that our society has just completely gone away from any type of living situation that we were designed to do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the reason why you're wanting to do these exercises that are all about sculpting the body to look good naked is because you've adopted a lifestyle that's not conducive to looking good naked.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Well, it's like that's the whole thing. You got to explain to them, like, not only do we want you to look good naked, but be functional, right? That's the one thing. It's awesome you look good naked, and then
but we just
can't do
anything. And what I'm really trying to write is, like you said, about taking those opportunities constantly to do something, to move.
Right. Yeah.
And I just think that people don't understand.
They don't, and that's one reason I didn't just look at just mindful body. And that I wanted fitness to be put on there, just like MovNat is called Natural Movement Fitness.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, you guys can both attest to this. If a person thinks that they can't get in amazing shape doing MovNat, they're really mistaken.
Crawl
Yeah,
30 yards is my thing. I was like, if they think it's a given, I was like, if you can crawl 30 yards down and back and not just be completely wiped, I'll concede. And you're right. You're right.
I mean, when you look at the advanced level MovNat workouts of the day that they do weekly and they show them, it's mind blowing. But it takes so much to get there, to be able to do it. And so MovNat is a fitness modality that we can look amazing naked. Right.
Well, Erwan looks. Oh my God! He's in great shape.
Yeah, he was for like 5 years never photographed with his shirt on. I think. I mean, it's like, and this is amazing too. So I did the level 3 last year, and it was a super humbling experience at MovNat. And we did this run through the Albuquerque mountains. And everybody took a picture after, and it's like this 3-mile run. We had to do it in a certain time. It was really, really intense, super fun. And the group picture, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I'm the only one that has my shirt on.
Oh yeah. I think you're in front.
Yeah, I was in front, and I just hadn't taken it. It was like it's just not. That's not how I train. But I was the only one. Now the 2 girls did, but right. But nobody
I was about
else
to say,
did.
man, I want in on that.
Yeah. So it was like, but I mean, and so you can be amazing. You can get amazing looking through MovNat.
I don't think you can be out of shape and do MovNat.
You can't.
And that's the other point that I was wanting to make is that it's not even that you can get in the best shape of your life doing MovNat, but what we're trying to it's not necessarily MovNat, but it's the moving.
It's movement.
It's trying to get people to understand that. Get out of your head about this hour workout a day 100%. In the gym where you're doing bicep
curls. We'll attach my blog that I did again too, because I actually distill it down. I go from the 168-hour work week. So if you do 3 1-hour workouts, it's 1.6% of your week, and then I'm like, okay, let's take out work, sleep, and all that, and it distills down to like 72. I think it's still 3.8%.
Yeah,
and then it gets it's still like I was like, dude, I wouldn't bet on that in Vegas.
No, right?
We've got odds.
We've got to rewild ourselves. We're too domesticated at the end of the day.
Yeah. So. And so it's and so the way that it works at the studio is that people come in. We make sure that they know that it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't try to it's not about weight loss. It's not about anything like that. It's we're going to micro move until you start to move a little bit better. And then once that happens, we'll start to implement some of the medium-sized moves of getting up and down off the ground. Once something this may take a year. It's like people have to understand that if they have been, coming, it's been happening since they were a kid. Like you were saying, James, that it's going to take a while to unravel that. And so there's no real timetables, and then once they start to move better, then we start to ask them to move a little bit more, using all the different modalities in MovNat, and then like I said, then it's like, hey man, once they start doing that, go lift weights, go take a yoga class, do kettlebells, go climb rock walls, get out and hike. I don't care what you do, but do something. And that's the idea of mindful body fitness.
I like using the deal if I want to be sarcastic with a new client. I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. It's taken you 15, 20, 25, 30 years to get here, and you want me to fix this for you in
12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to Cancun, bro.
All right, so we're coming. We got to wind down. We got these rapid fire questions.
Okay, cool.
Real quick one. Favorite mover?
I would have to say Cameron Prado as a friend and teacher.
Yeah, I would attest to that. He's amazing. Favorite movement?
That's rapid fire. Either it's a tough call between the get up and crawling.
Okay. Favorite bodybuilder?
Oh man. Probably right now, or
let's do right now. Let's do back then.
Right now, it'd have to be probably Dexter Jackson, just because he's 46 years old.
Dude, he just won the Australian Pro.
He's in the African Pro now. I think he just won it too. Today,
he has the most wins if he got those two. The most wins of any bodybuilder.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And he's older, man. I thought he was a little bit older than that. I thought he was almost 50 now.
Yeah, old time would be probably he's not necessarily a bodybuilder, but I love all of Vince Gironda stuff. He trained a lot of them. Yeah.
So we did this one last time, and I wanted to do it again just because I thought it was fun. But it was the fuck, marry, kill.
Yeah.
So fuck, marry, kill, and it's Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or Bernie Sanders. So those are your three. You got to fuck one, you got to marry one, and you got to kill one.
First of all, okay, give me the three. It's Trump, Sanders, and Clinton.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not a Sanders fan, so I'd probably kill him.
Okay.
And between the other two, I would probably marry Trump and fuck Clinton.
There you
I
go.
think that was my answer.
Getting that
too.
money. Getting that money.
Yeah. I think that's what I would do. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
I told Jessica after that question, I was like, man, when Steven asked that question, I kind of thought, what would I choose? And I went, I'm not gay. So I really, I mean, I've got to marry somebody with no sex, and then I've got to have sex with the only chick on the panel.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm stuck.
That was it.
Kind of pretty much makes half the decision for you.
Yeah.
And then we always ask this one. We always get weird answers. It's a zombie apocalypse, and you get to bring one item with you. What is that one item? It can be anything.
God. Man, I'm stumped.
Yeah.
I'm totally stumped.
Yeah.
Like that's a total. You know what? I want to say something like. This is probably really sappy, but I want to say something like my family and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like
Bringing
really,
the crew.
For the absolute support.
That's kind of like Zach's answer.
So-
Friendship.
Yeah.
He gave Cheese Whiz.
Can of Cheese Whiz.
Can of Cheese Whiz. Then he's like, no, friendship.
I want friendship.
I want friendship.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm thinking
my
of.
family and then my girlfriend Margot Ballard. So shout out.
Nice little shout
out. I have to. Yeah, she's amazing.
Absolutely.
My mom and dad have been amazing. My son. Is
Who's
a
an
blessing.
amazing mover, by the way. That kid is better than me, and he's like, what is he, 10 now?
Stone is.
But he should be, right? Like, I mean, he hasn't had a lifetime
So we go down to the park, right? And there's a gap that's, 6 feet? That's hard for me to jump, right? It doesn't necessarily push the limits, but it pushes it pretty close. How tall is he? 4 feet?
Man,
something
4
like that.
feet.
And he does it.
Yeah.
Like right after me, and I'm like, oh.
Without even warming up.
Without even like thinking about it, dude. It's just like, boom. I was like,
got this.
Dude, like I hesitate
awesome.
before I do it.
Yeah, and there's no hesitation in a child. So, but yeah, I mean, my family for the support they've offered all along the way. And it's that comes to mind.
I'm gonna leave my family behind only because
Cheese Whiz, right?
I don't want to watch him get eaten. So I don't want my family with me.
Instead of a pizza, I mean, it could be like Andolini's pizza and cookies or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Last cheat meal.
right?
Yeah, let's see how far these calories take us.
And then
last question's health-related question.
Okay.
How many times a day do you take a shit?
It's daily.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And almost always after my coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Is it how many times?
At least once?
Once. Yeah,
At least once?
I'm pretty much once. Like, it's
That's
like,
it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
man.
consistent.
So now, how many calories a day would you say you
it's
typically consume?
relatively low, and that's why it's only one. So,
okay.
I mean, my day consists of a butter coffee in the morning, a protein shake mid-morning. Usually have some sort of granola at lunchtime with almond milk and fruit, and then it's another protein shake, which I actually brought here with me.
Nice.
And then typically at night it kind of rotates, but it's just a protein, carb, and veggies. So
Nice.
probably 2,000 calories a day max.
And you're
So-
super lean, man.
Well, no,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
lean and you weigh as much as me, and I'm eating like 3,500 to 4,000 calories. Right
It's
now.
weird because all three of us look quite a bit different in our body
Yeah.
compositions,
Yeah.
and we're relatively close to the same
Same weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still, regardless of how many years it's been, I still maintained a lot of muscle from those days, and so.
Yeah, because you're vasodilated. I mean, I see your veins and everything. Yeah. So
That's kind of stays that way.
Yeah.
And depends if I have a pizza and cookies, it gets pretty crazy.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, let's do the handles real quick. Where can people find you?
So let's see. We just got the new webpage up. It's still a work in progress, but it's looking pretty good, and it's at mindfulbodyfitnesstulsa.com.
Okay.
They can find us at Mindful Body Fitness on Facebook page.
Okay.
And then it's mindful_body_fitness at Instagram.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And we'll put all that in the show notes. So
and if somebody wants to call to get pricing or anything, want to talk to you a little bit about what you might do for them, what's the phone number where
they can either reach out to me at 918-313-0000, which is like the coolest number ever.
That is the coolest number.
Or they can just shoot me an email through the mindfulbodyfitnesstulsa.com webpage.
Okay.
Awesome.
And or stop by the studio. So
very cool.
And the studio
Third in Peoria.
Third in Peoria, yeah. And just so everybody out there knows, the studio is 90% private sessions. I do like 3, I think it's 3, maybe I have 4, but 3. I do 4 classes a week, 3 at the studio, and then I teach 1 at Zova. Here in town on the weekends.
We love Dr. Mike.
Yes, shout out to Dr. Mike.
Yeah, and so it's majority private sessions, so that's kind of what I do, and the small groups are limited to a small number, so that each person gets individual attention in there as well.
That's how I do it too.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm big on that.
That's super cool. So yeah,
awesome.
This has been awesome.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for doing that. It's some awesome stories, man.
Awesome stories. I feel like we could have done another 3 hours. I mean,
we probably could have. Yeah, we kind of rushed some of that.
Thank you guys for listening. Another good podcast this week, and Steven and I will have a nutritional one up next week.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks again.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Local A-List.
And as always, we want to thank our guests for stopping by and sharing their time with us. Hey guys, if you enjoyed what you heard, please go to iTunes and leave us a rating or a review. This really helps us out. And as always, we are looking for sponsors, preferably locally, but we will accept national sponsors as well. Contact us through localalist.com. And you can check us out at facebook.com/localalist. My personal website is jamespesh.com.
And mine is StephenMoralesCPT.com. Check back with us next week for another episode.